Hotties, welcome back to another episode of Stay Hot. I'm Blaiden Kirk, joined as always by my two favorite co-hosts of all time, Matthew Sponauer and Theo Ashmore, back to recap week 5 of the NFL season. And every week we do these Stay Hot locks where we each pick certain teams that we think are guaranteed to win. This is the first time Matt got a win. Picked the Bears to beat his Carolina Panthers. Theo and I did not hit our locks this week. I picked the Niners, he picked the Seahawks. Both of those teams decided to shit the bed, per se.
With no neighbors.
And you know what's crazy? Both of those teams lost, like, at the very end. Like, in clutch moments. Just, like, horrible last play. Dagger. Yeah, man. To the heart. But
I can't believe I watched the entire Ravens-Bengals game knowing the Ravens were my lock, survived that, only to get clipped by the damn Giants without Malik Neighbors, but at least it was at the hands of Tyrone Tracy, a top 5 running back in the most recent draft class.
So true, man. How are you guys doing on this beautiful Sunday night?
I would just watch Kyle Allen enter the game on this Sunday night football matchup that I've got on my TV past my desk. We recorded at halftime for this game because it got delayed and we don't want Matt and Blaiden to be up at 4 a.m. So we're recording at halftime, and now the second half has started, and we have got a Kyle Allen sighting, which is just I don't know. It just makes me a little bit. It makes me smile a little bit just because we've got Matt on this podcast, and I know that he was a
Fields
former
get
Panther.
hurt?
Yeah, he got popped. I think they took him in for the concussion protocol. But at any rate, I'm doing pretty well. The Packers got a victory today. I went to a pumpkin patch on Friday and got a big-ass pumpkin, and they had a petting zoo with some cows and pigs and stuff. It was on the same day you went.
Saturday.
You copied my whole flow.
I did not copy. I didn't even know you went to the pumpkin patch. I had planned.
Yeah, we were nonchalant about it,
That's, yeah. This is my new character. His whole thing is that he's really chill and doesn't really give a
just kind of mysterious about the things that I'm up to. I saved it for the podcast, But.
That's true. I'm proud of you.
Bang.
Matt, how you hanging in there?
I'm pretty good. I feel like I got a lot. I signed up for a pottery class. I'm really excited about
Let's
that.
Go.
Ooh.
I think that'll be fun. Inspired by my grandma who does pottery. Shout out to her. I saw Megalopolis this weekend. Have you guys seen it?
I've heard such bad things, and I've seen clips of it on Twitter and TikTok that look very horrible. And I have to imagine the entire movie was a bit of a miss, in your opinion. But
it's pretty ridiculous, but it is different than anything else. Which I don't care. I think that's a good thing. And it is never boring. If you're giving it a 1 star, I simply can't agree. I also, my opinion on it while I was watching it, not that it's perfect. I agree with a lot of the criticisms. There's so many things they go for, and then, a lot of them they don't ever, conclude. So there's maybe some open ends. But I think people are underestimating how much of it is trying to be a little funny. The Adam Driver, you've probably seen the Adam Driver scene that the one where he's and go back to the club, that one, you know what I'm talking about? That is definitely trying to be funny. Yes, that is being funny on purpose. And there's a scene at the end, I won't spoil anything, with the bow and arrow. You cannot tell me that is not a joke, that they are not partially kidding with that. I know that for a fact. So I actually liked it. It's weird. I don't even know if I necessarily call it good, but it's certainly not this sucks, I'm gonna walk out, because some of the parts, some of the editing choices, even, not that I'm some dude who knows film, but there was, if you've seen it, there was one cut where they run over the coat and then they cut back to running over the coat again super quickly. I was crying at that, but it's supposed to be funny. There's a character called Wow Platinum. It's supposed to be a little funny. So I will defend that movie a little bit.
I'm looking at. I've never heard of this before, so I'm like trying to like figure things out a little bit. The cast list looks stacked, though.
Well, it
is
Coppola movie, right? Like, didn't he?
Yeah,
he did
financed
The Godfather, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
it's like his passion project thing. And it's just a hilarious movie, dude. It's never bad. It's either good or funny. It's awesome, dude.
Are the bad moments like so bad that they're funny? Is it like that, or?
I don't know if it's that simple, because I really do think it's trying to be funny. Like, I really do think there's definitely some moments where it's like, that's bad. And there's some things you can point to and be like, that's rough. And it's a little hard to follow at times. It's kind of a lot hard to follow at times. But I liked it.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm reading an article about it, and it says that we are in the exact same place. He says, what's happening in America, in our republic, in our democracy, is exactly how Rome lost the republic thousands of years ago, is what Coppola said. That's a good way to begin the movie. I know nothing about it, so I can't really argue or agree with you.
This movie?
But
it's 2.5 hours-ish.
Okay.
However good or bad it was it better or worse than Jets Vikings?
I'd say it's probably pretty close. I do. I think Jets Vikings, like, for a lot of it, you're like, this game kind of stinks. And then by the end of it, you're like, actually, that was a pretty good game.
Yeah.
And I believe that's kind of the same with Megalopolis, where I'm like, once you buy in, you're like, oh, they're like totally kidding in some of this. Like,
Rodgers,
this is a joke.
Trying to be funny when he pretended to get hurt and then jogged back onto the field after the penalty on the punt.
Right. And when he threw that interception that lost him the game, that was a joke too.
Yeah, he was just trying to be a little intentional there, throwing some comedic timing throughout the course of the season. Look, getting into some serious analysis about this game, the first thing that stands out to me in the aftermath, 22 targets for Garrett Wilson.
Oh, my God.
Mm-hmm.
The fifth most since 2000. Tied for fifth. It seemed like from the beginning to the end of this game, the mentality was, look, last week we weren't on the same page. You know, the weeks before, some of the times we weren't on the same page. We're getting on the same page in this game, like, for better or worse. We are going to force feed it. We're going to try to get in rhythm. It's going to be all you. And from beginning to end, the results were very mixed still. There was, I think the main ones that I'm thinking about is one that I highlighted on the Pro Football Network TikTok, was the blitz, where they were 4-on-3 to the left. You know for a fact, if you're Aaron Rodgers, that Harrison Smith is hot. He is not going to be blocked. There is no possible chance that anybody is going to touch him, because you only have 3 people, right? On the front side of the passing concept, you have 2 curl routes. One, they're both getting defended by off coverage. If you are hot to the backside and you have 2 like hitches versus off coverage to the front side, you have to hit the top of your drop and immediately throw the hitch, right? Like, obviously.
Yeah.
And for Rodgers to hit the top of his drop, see the cover, everybody's backing up, and for him to just bounce once and take a sack, I just didn't understand. And he did the same thing last week on the first play of the game. There's a blitz. Number 40, Stranad, the guy with no vowels for the Broncos, is flying downhill. It's 4-on-3 or whatever, 3-on-2, I can't quite remember. And he looks directly at Alan Lazard's same situation, wide open hitch, and then decides to move to the backside and throw a double move that's not open and doesn't have enough time to develop. My question is, like, why is Rodgers just not seeing the game sometimes? Like, what is the issue here? I just cannot quite wrap my head around it. There's another one where it was cover 2, and there was obviously a safety on top of a go route from Garrett Wilson. The corner falls behind him and trails him up the sideline. He throws a back shoulder fade out of bounds. It's like there's someone trailing. If there was someone on top of him, right, you'd want to throw the back shoulder. When there's someone trailing him, you have to hit the hole shot. You have to put it high to the sideline. Like, what are these decisions that he is making? And I just don't quite understand where, is it Hackett? People blame Hackett. It's like Hackett can't do anything once the play starts. Like, there's someone open is missing. Like, I don't know about all that, but I just feel like these last 2 weeks, Rodgers is just making inexplicable decisions.
Yeah.
And then he always seems outwardly mad, like somebody else did something. And it's just so impossible to know exactly who is to blame there for some of it. I agree that, like, there's times where it's like Rodgers seems like he could have made a play and didn't, but then he'll get up and act like somebody else did something wrong. And you want to trust him, like, because he's just done it for so long. But I don't know. I thought it was a tough game. I feel like the Jets are really prone to this. I don't want to be like too critical of them. Well, I'm not critical. I don't want to be too out on them or anything yet, right? Because as the season goes on, we could see their chemistry continue to build on offense. But certainly the offensive line is a big problem, and certainly Rodgers' connection with everybody there is a problem.
Yeah. One thing that stuck out to me, I don't think it's all Rodgers, but just for the entire first half, it felt like the Jets just kept shooting themselves in the foot. Like, every mistake, or not even every mistake, everything that was good that happened to the Vikings, it felt like it was off of a Jets miscue, a Jets failure, right? The pick six, another interception. So, when did they have, 5 defensive holding calls on a single drive or something? Just ridiculous miscues. I mean, and that's so uncharacteristic of them.
It happened last week.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
It was just as messy last week. It was messier last week.
Yeah, so it's just like they tend to shoot themselves in the foot so much. And to go into halftime to be at 17-7, I felt like, if they could just do literally anything, they would probably win this game. And sure enough, they started, scratching, clawing, battled their way back. And, this is probably Sam Darnold's worst game of the season by far.
Probably.
Definitely. And I want to talk about Darnold. I think part of the reason why it feels like that.
Hold on. I want to say one more thing about Rodgers. One more. Sorry.
No, go for it.
The play clock was another thing. Last week I watched his his after game press conference, and the first question he got asked was about something Saleh said in a press conference that I didn't watch, the cadence was maybe causing too much confusion, maybe we should cool it on that, apparently is what Saleh said. And so the reporter asked Rodgers about it, and of course cadence is his secret weapon, right? He's never gonna, and he said, that's ridiculous, it was a small sample size, the other games we didn't have these problems with false starts and things like that, delay a game, whatever. So yeah, we're gonna keep using cadence. And then Saleh apologized for insinuating the next day. This game, every single time they snapped the ball, the play clock was at 0. They did it more than ever. They leaned into it. And I just think that is such a just the Jets, the Saleh Rodgers era in a nutshell is everything that happened with that. Saleh maybe suggests changing something. Rodgers throws a hissy fit. Rodgers just gets his way. It's not a hissy fit. That's maybe too harsh, because Rodgers, it wasn't a bad point to say that the other games they hadn't had those issues. So that's maybe a bit too negative. But Rodgers corrects him, and then they just do it Rodgers' way. And that dynamic between quarterback and head coach just doesn't seem great. And that's the thing that I think that concerns me maybe the most about just this whole Jet situation right now is will the chemistry get better as the year goes on? Because they said it during the broadcast, hey, Rodgers it's awfully quiet on that sideline. Rodgers isn't really talking to anybody except for the Lazard, which they always shot, they would cut to him and he was always talking to Lazard, but he wasn't talking to Wilson.
What was it that he was talking to Hackett, but it was who's their backup right now?
Tyrod?
Yeah, it was Tyrod that was going over talking to the receivers.
Other receivers, yeah. He talks to Hackett and he talks to Lazard. His buddies from Green Bay.
I'm like, what is this? I'm like, look, I don't want to make a deal out of it, but that seems weird. That feels very off. Like I feel like I watch any other game and I'm like, quarterbacks talk to the receivers after every possession except for Aaron Rodgers.
Especially when it's like Garrett Will, like get animated. Like who cares what it takes? Like Wilson is the guy you need to figure things out with the most, and then like over the course of the game, they're just not talking to each other. Like how are you guys supposed to get on the same page? And then in the run game, I'll have to do more studying on what is wrong with that. Like it just, I don't know exactly what the problem was. Just every time they handed it to Breece Hall, he got planted in the backfield 2 straight weeks. Last week, the Broncos were doing a ton of blitzing their linebackers, just destroying all the combos. And that was the reason why. Just, again, more communication issues, just timing of double teams, things like that. Maybe that was their problem again with the Jets today, but watching it live, I'm not as sharp. But regardless, the run blocking needs to be way better, and then the protection on play action needs to be better. Very similar to run blocking, right? Like fake run blocking and then roll. Steven Ruiz tweeted this out. Shout out to him because this is a good stat. 0 explosive plays off play action for the Jets this year, and the league average is 15%, right? So they've run a decent amount of play action. 1 in 10 should result in an explosive play. To have 0 at this point, pretty horrible. So that whole aspect, like more than just the communication from Rodgers to Wilson, because like you can just through sheer volume get him going, but you can't get the run game going by sheer volume, I guess. And then the play action off of it is horrible as well. So yeah, that's what concerns me the most, offensive line in those situations, and just when will the chemistry get better. But talk about Sam Darnold, Matt. I'm sorry that I so loudly just cut you off.
Well, first thing I was going to say is that the reason why I feel like part of the Jets keep shooting themselves in the foot isn't just because of their struggles, but the Vikings defense is good at forcing errors. Like they're a very high havoc defense. So it's not surprising when it feels like other teams are like making mistakes. It's because they're playing a defense that causes them to make a lot of mistakes. Darnold, however, was bad today. He was really rough. We like him because he is aggressive and he's willing to put the ball in a position where his guys can make a play. But today, it was way too much just throwing it up, Jefferson down there somewhere. I'm throwing it deep. And honestly, for a lot of them, it didn't feel like he was giving Jefferson and his guys that great of a shot. Yeah. I think he needed to check it down a little bit more, and to hit other parts of the field outside of it just felt like so much down the sideline stuff. He was
just so inaccurate as well. Like there was a touchdown to Jefferson on that rub route, and Jefferson like stopped and picked it up off of his knees and like had to run out of bounds. The pick was basically the same pick that Rodgers threw early, where it was like, it looked like a little, was it dagger? It may have been, where there was, I don't know, he just tried to fit it in a tight window, some intermediate in-breaker, and overthrew it right to the safety. And that was the same thing Rodgers did in a crucial moment. His completion percentage was horrible.
That was to Sauce's backup when Sauce went down.
Eccles had a nice, Eccles outplayed Sauce in this game. Response?
They don't want you to know this, though.
I don't know what to tell you, man. It's a tough one.
I saw someone say, it was Pranav on Twitter, put a Shea Gilgeous-Alexander gif in reference to Justin Jefferson in this game. I thought that was good. It was the Nate Tice shooting free throws tweet, and then the Shea quote tweet. The combination killed me because it was just
yards than receiving yards.
It was all DPI like all day. I think he drew 5 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think you got to see Darnold be better than that, and that's the weakness of this Vikings team. They were playing a good team, and they were able to survive it because I still believe in them as one of the top teams in the NFC, not the entire NFL, but some teams you're going to give that performance against, and they're going to be more offensively inclined, and it could cost you the game, right? So Darnold has to be better.
Darnold has to be better, and we'll see what happens with Aaron Jones, right? This was his first injury of the year, really. Went out with a hip injury. Didn't come back. I think they had 7 rushing yards the entire second half or something like that. Ty Chandler fumbled a pitch. Jones is a bit fragile, and the stable of running backs behind him, they don't seem super reliable. Chandler has his moments. He had a long run that was called back by penalty, but still definitely not encouraging for that to completely evaporate once Jones went down, considering Jones's history.
Yeah. Theo, I don't know if you have the numbers on this. I know sometimes you get like some of the advanced analytics earlier than us, but us peasants. But I feel like Darnold was pressured a lot more than he was in some of the previous games too. I would be interested to hear what those.
The noticer.
The notice. That was just Jets defensive line felt like they got at it a lot. Especially McDonald. He was getting back in a hurry sometimes. Really quick off the edge.
I thought the offensive line was doing an all right job. I didn't hear much from Quinnen Williams all day. The McDonald sack, like he was on a boot, right? Let's see what the number is. Week 5.
He got sacked 4 times.
Number 1 pressured team this. Oh, you guess who the number 1 and 2 most pressured teams?
I mean, I can tell you who the number 1 most pressured team was. It's the Cleveland Browns.
It was, no. It was the Carolina Panthers, number 1, 48.8%. Cleveland Browns, number 2, 48.7%. So
oh my god!
You guys are buddies over there.
How many sacks? How many times did Dalton get sacked? Let's ask that question.
I don't know. Their sack differential was -3. That's not good. But you are right, Blaiden, that the pressure rate for the Vikings was at 40.5% this week, which ranked 7th.
Yeah,
not good.
That's really high.
And their pressure rate was only 29.8%. So that's not a great differential for you. As much as the Vikings blitzed and had some successful plays off the blitz, and robbed Rodgers on that pick 6, it did seem like the line wasn't always like getting shredded versus the blitz. It just seemed like Rodgers was really quick to get the ball out, and obviously had all those miscues targeting.
I think he was like forcing
drops and stuff.
Like you said, to 22 targets to Garrett Wilson. How many times was
a couple of those were forced?
Yeah, a few. And then the last one to Mike Williams. I know that's kind of like his thing, but I don't know. That just,
it was low and inside, so I don't know what Mike Williams was supposed to do. But yeah, it was a concerning performance from the Jets, and I thought it was a bit of a concerning performance from the Vikings as well. I thought some of the reasons that, they were kind of in our debate for, are they the bottom of tier 1 or the top of tier 2? They still won the game. They're still 5-0. Like, their defense still is causing major problems, and Jefferson is sick. But I thought some of the issues that we talked about in the last podcast started to appear.
Yeah, I agree.
Sure.
I agree. I do want to take a moment and talk about one of our good friends of the show, Wendys, as they sponsor this Can't Get Enough Sauce segment. I think, Matt, you brought it up that Jeremiah Smith is going to be better than Marvin Harrison Jr. ever was.
In the group chat he did, not on this episode.
In the group chat he did. And I think I completely agree. Some of the catches that he was making this weekend was absolutely insane. Do you think he's going to be better than Marv, or were you just pulling our finger a little bit?
I was just talking during the game. I think he's got a real shot at it. It's hard to be faster paced than him. Obviously, like I'm kind of just shooting the shit after I see an awesome one-handed catch. It's a long road. But like, dude, he's got the potential to. His skills when the ball is in the air are pretty ridiculous, and it just looks so easy for him. You watch, a bunch of pro guys, right? And even then, it's really, really difficult when the ball's in the air to go make a play on it, really, right? Like, that's not something that's a given at all. There's dudes who can be awesome, it feels like, at pretty much every aspect of receiving, but if they can't track the ball and make a play and, like, catch stuff out of their frame and all of that, they're never going to be that level of superstar. It doesn't matter what else you can do. Take a guy like Tyreek Hill with his speed, right? If he couldn't go and get the ball the way he does, he'd be Ted Ginn,
Right.
Like, it's really that important. And Jeremiah Smith, like, he's just got that. He's got that as
Jerry
good
Jeudy.
as anybody. Right. Like,
Judy's the number one example I can think of. It's just like,
he's just a monster. And I know Ryan Williams has been awesome too. So it's been kind of, it's almost like you can't quite,
Who do you think is better?
I don't know. I haven't watched enough Ryan Williams. You're not going to make me give hot takes I'm not ready for. But I'm
going to get one out of you one of these days.
I have plenty of hot takes. I get told I'm trying to be different just as much as I get told I'm not being different enough. It's one or the other 100% of the time. It's like, all right.
Blaiden, are you insinuating that the Vikings are going to draft him first overall when they collapse here these next 2 years? Because I agree.
So you're predicting a Vikings collapse
That carries into next year.
To the point where, in what would it be, 2027, in the 2027 draft?
The next 2 years. Well, you're just talking about a receiver, and we were talking about the Vikings. I thought maybe I thought maybe you thought the Vikings would collapse. So.
Oh. No, I don't know if they'll collapse. I mean, they've definitely traded a receiver to draft a new one before, and that worked out for them. So it could happen.
You think that Justin Jefferson's could be on the move?
Maybe. I think a certain team in Ohio would really be inclined to.
They don't have the money. Neither of them. Let's talk about. Speaking of a certain team in Ohio. I am dying to talk about Bengals Ravens, potentially game of the year.
Yes.
Very exciting. Tons of offense. Master classes from Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson.
I saw before Joe Burrow said he would have to play damn near perfect to beat this Ravens team, and he pretty much did, and they still couldn't get it done.
Yeah, he did say that, and he's right, because let me say this. The number one takeaway from this game, this Bengals defense is just too bad. It's just too bad for them to be contenders. They're 1-4 right now. Clearly, they have the firepower that they always had. Now that their wide receivers are healthy, things are looking pretty great these last 3 weeks. But this defense is hopeless. I mean, just the lack of athletes that they have is the most striking thing, and it's something that's not overcomable unless you have some super soldier serum that you can put in the food. Just no one at any level can run with anybody. And you go up against a guy like Lamar Jackson. I tweeted a clip of Anthony Richardson a few weeks ago of him like stiff arming Montez Sweat and like hanging around and making a throw anyway. And it was a pick with him. Every Lamar drop back looked like that in this game. Like guys would hit him. Guys would hold on to him for more than like 2 seconds. They'd be like hanging all over him, and he'd just be like stiff arming, like just batting him away, like the ball up high, like it's his little brother who can't reach the ball yet. And he just like gets out of it after just toying with the guy for a few seconds, and then makes a play down the field. I mean, Anarumo blitzed at least, especially at the beginning of the game, probably over half the time. I can probably look up the numbers and get them to you here in a second, but every single play in the beginning of this game, they were blitzing to stop Derrick Henry, to make Lamar feel uncomfortable. And I'm seeing like Roger Rosengarten hold the end in one hand and then reach out and clothesline the blitzing DB like with the other hand. And it's like, this is Roger Rosengarten looking like Zeus against your pass. He's taking out two guys with each arm. Like, what are we doing here? And then the secondary, Von Bell, disaster class. Like, the guy can't run. He's running in wet cement on the vertical shot to Kohler. It's cover 3. Charlie Kohler is just releasing vertically up the field. It's cover 3. Like, Von Bell sees it. He like gets into his back pedal and he's like losing ground at a unprecedented rate on the big Henry run. I don't know what the safeties are doing. He's the free hitter. He's like worried about the cutback. Like, you gotta don't worry about the cutback. Worry about the fact that Derrick Henry is running untouched towards the sideline. He's not getting over. It's like, what are you doing? Your guy Battle needs to play more, Blaiden, because like Von Bell can't play.
Dude, I've been saying this. Bengals fans on Twitter, I keep saying like they love Luanarumo, but they're like, why is Battle not playing? The safety play is horrible. Like, give the guy a shot.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. So there's nothing they can do. All right, they disguise their looks. They still got to rush 4 or blitz, and neither works. All right, there's only so much. Right now, they're doing everything they can. They threw the kitchen sink. I saw Sam Hubbard lined up off the ball blitzing as like a linebacker. Like okay, just anything goes. It just doesn't matter if you disguise it or not, or what your look looks like. You're either getting shredded or you're getting shredded and you're out of position. Like, that's what the disguises are at this point for Lou. So, you know, it's not an overcomable situation. I think they asked Zach Taylor about what gives him confidence about the defense after the game. And he said, well, we've played a lot of good offenses. A lot of good offenses. You've played the Panthers and you played the New England Patriots and you made them look sick. All right. So
Panthers are sick.
It's not just good offenses. Like, I get it with Lamar and with Jaden Daniels, the way things have gone and stuff like that. But I mean, they just had no answers. And in that same press conference at the end of the game, they're kind of in field goal range. It's like 50, like way plus 50 yards, like 59, 60-yard field goal we're talking about. 3 straight run plays into a loaded box. What? You have Joe Burrow playing the game of his life? He's going at Marlon Humphrey and Roquan Smith, and it's no problem. Like, these players that I know are good on the Ravens defense, like, are looking like scrubs against these receivers, except for the pick from Marlon, which was sick. But they picked on him a lot in that game. Like, you're moving the ball at will through the air. You're settling for a 53-yard field goal, and then after the game, he's like, well, we called a pass, and then Joe audibled into a run. Great job, Joe, getting the look right. I went back and looked. They're in 13 personnel, and there's 9 people in the box. What pass did you have called that he checked out of?
No, I think they had one. I think they had one look where Jamar was one-on-one on the outside, and
that's the one they audibled.
Was that the one they audibled out of?
They were scared. They're scared of Nate Wiggins, I guess. But he was like, "Well, we had a pass call. Don't criticize us for running 3 times. We tried to pass. What 13 personnel pass at midfield did you have drawn up? Like, it wasn't time to get out of your normal offense. It was disgusting coaching at the end of the game from Zach Taylor. But yeah, that's my rant about the Bengals in that game.
That was a very entertaining rant, Theo. But you're spot on with everything. The defense is just so freaking bad. And, like, the decision to run the ball at the end with, like, basically the game in hand is especially concerning, considering who they have at running back.
They have Chase. Look, shout out Eric All, shout out Chase Thomas. The two of them are doing a decent job, especially All. Like, they line him up at fullback in the backfield. He's been cool. Like, he is making a lot of good contact at the second level. He sprang some big runs early in the game. I'm not too mad at the design of the rushing attack or who they've got at running back at this point. It's just like, your best players are your 11 personnel guys, or maybe 12, right? With all playing the way he is. At least you want T. Higgins on the field, and you want the ball in Joe Burrow's hands. It was no time to. They ended up settling for the 53-yard field goal. Like, I get McPherson is good, but it's not the time to just go into your shell and just keep running.
Was the idea that they wanted to kill clock?
No, it's overtime.
No,
it's overtime. They got
the idea is that they were scared to make a mistake, is what it was. Teams do this all the time. Cincinnati, the Bearcats, did this last week against Texas Tech. And it's the same thing I was talking about with Ohio State in 2022 against Georgia. These teams have this idea that like a 50-yard field goal is a good thing. Like, they think the risk of throwing an interception is greater than the risk of missing a 50-yard field goal. And it's like, you couldn't be more wrong. It's so ridiculous. At the college level, insane. At the pro level, maybe makes I guess I get it, but it's not even close. You a 50-yard field goal is like slightly better than a coin toss at the NFL level. I know they went on like a hot streak in 4 weeks or whatever. It's like 66%, somewhere around there. You are I promise you, the likelihood of a Burrow interception versus basically like running up the middle 4 times, which is deciding we're fine where we are. You might as well just go ahead and kick it at that point almost. Right. It's like, so you're just deciding that you want the 50-yarder. Stupid. And with, again, that's just in general. You're not even taking into account the game that Burrow was playing, where obviously he's playing fantastic. I totally agree. Just a massive mistake. Never settle for those 50-yarders. It's always bad. Even if it works, always bad.
Yep. Oh, but the Ravens ran it. When the Ravens got the ball back, they ran it. They got Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson.
They got Derrick Henry. And I'm sure, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think they were in, maybe they were. I don't think they were in 13 personnel with 9 people in the box. Like, and even if they were, they're the Ravens. That's their whole identity. Like, that's not the identity of the. And Burrow played such a great game. The throw to Yoshi Voss, I don't know if you guys saw that one in the corner of the end zone. It was, the ball probably went 2,000 feet up in the air. It was like it was an arm punt, but it was coffin corner. It rose up a mile into the air and just dropped back down, like almost straight down, for a 50-yard hole shot on like the back pylon. Like, it was the most beautiful drop in the bucket that I've seen. Jamar Chase, obviously a massive problem. His route on the touchdown, the little rocker step that he had to get Marcus Williams turned around. And Marlon bit on the underneath route. Joe Burrow aired it out. He was under pressure, making plays in all areas of the field. Just, looking like Joe Burrow, so
right.
Like, to waste an offensive performance like that and an opportunity like that was crazy. And I guess the last thing I have to say about this game, phenomenal game from everybody on the Ravens, obviously, but Tyler Linderbaum has to take some RPMs off the snaps. There were 2 that were fumbled, the one that resulted in the amazing Lamar touchdown, and then the one that almost cost them the game. I feel like those snaps were like going back at like Mach 5. Where are we? Why are we like... Is there any way to take some juice off of that? I don't know if that's the way it always is. I haven't always paid attention to his stat mechanics, unfortunately. But to have that issue twice at the end of the game was kind of wild.
There's just something magical about being at a live event, whether it's the energy of a packed stadium, the thrill of a concert, or the laughter at a comedy show. There's truly nothing like it. I remember catching a game last year, one of those last-minute decisions where everything just fell into place. The roar of the crowd, the buzz in the air. It's an experience you just can't replicate anywhere else. And I'm really looking forward to making even more memories this year. That's why I'm so excited to tell you about Game Time, the app that's been a game changer for me. They've had this new feature called Game Time Picks, and trust me, it's a lifesaver. It takes all the hassle out of finding tickets by showing you the best deals on the best seats. So no more endless scrolling or second guessing. Just the other day, I was looking looking for tickets to an upcoming concert, one I've been dying to see, and I decided to check out Game Time Picks. And let me tell you, the deals they had were unreal. I found a super deal that was just too good to pass up, and within minutes, I had my seats locked in. The app even let me preview the view from my seats before I bought them, so I knew exactly what to expect. But what really impressed me was with how easy the whole process was. The app is super intuitive, and with features like all-in pricing, there were no surprise fees at checkout. What you see is what you get. Plus, with their lowest price guarantee, I knew I was getting the best possible deal. And if anything happened, like the event got canceled, they got you covered with their flexible customer service policy. So if you're anything like me and you want to take the guesswork out of buying tickets, you've got to check out Game Time. So download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code BLAIDENK for $20 off your first purchase. That's, of course, BLAIDENK for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. What is up, hotties? You know that when it comes to NFL football, Stay Hot has you covered. But who do you turn to when you need to make smart financial decisions? If your answer is our sponsor, NerdWallet, then you're absolutely right. And if it's not, then allow me to change your mind, because not only have they spent thousands of hours researching and reviewing over 1,300 financial products, but they have the tools you need to make smarter financial decisions. Looking for a credit card? Go beyond the basic comparisons. Filter for features that matter to you and read in-depth reviews. Ready to choose a high-yield savings account? Get access to exclusive deals and compare rates, bonuses, and more. House hunting? View today's top mortgage rates for your new home sweet home. So while Stay Hot is your go-to resource for NFL football, make the Nerds your go-to resource for smart financial decisions. Head to nerdwallet.com/learn more. NerdWallet. Finance smarter. Disclaimer, NerdWallet Compare Inc. NMLS 1617539.
I want to talk about Houston versus Buffalo, if you guys are ready to move on.
Big revenge game.
There's a lot of things to get into. I'm going to get into the play calling decision immediately because I have a bone to pick with how this was talked about. Okay. The Bills were not wrong with how they... I won't go that far. Throwing the ball was not a bad idea. In fact, this idea that they should have run up the middle 3 times and then punted, what the hell are we talking about? The Texans had 3 timeouts. Look, if the Texans had 2 and you could run up the middle 3 times and take it to OT, that's what you do for sure. The Bills had to pick up a first, not to give Houston the ball back. They had to pick up a first. And if they just committed to taking away the timeouts, there's no guarantee that Buffalo picks up any yards. There's no guarantee that they pick up a first down. And essentially, you're okay with not picking up any first downs. You're okay with running 15 seconds and punting the ball, 20 seconds and punting the ball. Now, I know that maybe some people would argue that, you had to get out of your end zone so you could get a punt off. They got like a 56-yard punt off and just let up a bad return. And then they were immediately in field goal range, Houston was. I just don't think Buffalo played that wrong to be aggressive. Now, I would argue that, like, the throws down the sideline instead of, let's get our first down, and then if we want to go crazy, we can go crazy, I agree with. But I also think that people are like, McDermott, you idiot. Like, dude, McDermott wasn't like, run the play where we throw it down the sideline every single time. Like, that's not...
multiple routes.
Right. So it's if we want to blame Allen for that, fair enough. But I don't know. I felt like people were overreacting to that decision making, as if in a world where they run up the middle 3 times, punt it back, and the Texans just kick a field goal right away. Like, nobody, you're doing all of that to what? Like, guarantee you won't pick up a first down so you can, I guess, hypothetically stop them from throwing over the middle of the field. Like, that's you're banking on that saving you, because or like a 5-yard longer field goal. What would it have been? I don't know. I'm just not that mad at them for throwing it. And if it had worked, I think people would have been super hype about them driving down the field, being aggressive. Right. But I agree. They probably should have. I agree with that. They probably should have tried to get the first before they really start, going bombs away, and guarantee themselves that they can run the clock down and take it to OT if they need to. Yeah. But they still did. They still, were perfectly fine to throw.
Yeah, it was the first question McDermott got asked after the game. I didn't really think anything was strange about it. You have Josh Allen in 30 seconds. Like, what are you going to do? You're going to try to get in field goal range and win the game no matter where you are on the field. Like, that's just the type of quarterback that he is. We know what he's capable of. Yeah, you want it in his hands to go try win the game. And shout out Kamari Lassiter for the coverage on Keon Coleman. And
Yep.
the Texans did a great job. How about this, Matt? I'll give you another play clock or play calling question. What did you think of Slowick's drive right before that?
The one that got the Texans was tough.
I just thought they should have run it there and run the clock down and kick the field goal. Like, the Bills have no timeouts. And the weirdest part to me was to get to that point, they were super conservative. Like, there wasn't much time left in the game. They were throwing screens. They were running the ball. They dropped back a few times on that drive, but it was on third down, and they like hit one of the mesh routes. They hit a check down that pot. Like, there was really nothing to be like, oh, we're going to be aggressive to try to get into field goal range. I think they did want to prevent any time left for Allen to get the ball, so they try to get down there kind of as methodically as possible. And then they get in range, and the Bills have no timeouts, and then they're like, okay, time to start throwing to the sidelines, and they throwing and like running out of bounds and like throwing in completions and getting intentional ground. What are you doing? What are you doing? I was yelling at the TV. So at the end of the game, management for both teams was a little questionable, just with the efficiency of looks the Bills were trying to throw and what the Texans did at the end. It's just a bit of a mess, but the Texans do enough to get it done. Did you watch any of this one, Blaiden?
I did not.
No. I've got a stat for you then to describe how this one went.
Okay.
Do you know that Josh Allen was 9 for 30?
I did see that. That was a little odd.
That was a little odd. Here's another mind-blowing stat. He had -7 passing yards on first down today.
What?
Not good.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch this. That's
I don't think this was a great Allen game, obviously. I think anytime you go 9 for 30, you probably played like Dookie. But I really just don't like the Bills receivers. Without Shakir, it's like, who here going into a game is for sure going to like win? And the answer is nobody. Coleman had that great play, but outside of that, super inconsistent. Hollins can't track the ball well.
That was rough.
That was brutal. Kincaid is cool, but probably not the real game changer that you wish he was. And same thing with Dawson Knox. Like, it's a lot of guys where it's like if nobody where like if there's a top coverage guy on them, or if there's a team that really can lock in on them, there's no one where I'm like they're like just so tough to stop at getting themselves open. There's some guy where he can separate no matter what, right? And when the Bills had Stephon Diggs doing his thing in his prime, they had a guy like that. They had someone who could go win no matter what. And yeah, there'd be other guys where it's like Gabe Davis, Mr. Inconsistent probably. But it wasn't the end of the world if Davis wasn't having a great game. And it was always like a nice extra when he was. Now it's like they've only got the Gabe Davises and they don't have any Stephon Diggs. Allen can play incredible hero ball at times, even if he's a little inconsistent, even if he makes some questionable decisions and some questionable throws at times. But you can't actually create something from nothing. And to me, my takeaway from this game was like, I don't want to get too ahead of myself or make some sweeping conclusion about what they're going to be in January, right? It definitely feels like they're going to get into the playoffs and they're going to go up against a really tough defense. And at some point, no matter how good Allen plays, the receivers will cost them. Like it's not going to be good enough. Maybe Allen makes it happen, but if you told me like go bet on a team to make it out of the AFC who has a defense, the Bills defense potentially can be great as they get healthier and has some really great moments, and a great quarterback but has questionable receivers, like give me the Chiefs. You know, I just don't like Buffalo's path right now unless you see some serious development from like Coleman, They could get Shakir back. I mean, they will. That's going to help. But
yeah,
I'm just bummed out that I'm bummed out with the consistency of the guys that they're putting on the field right now.
And everybody's taking advantage of it. Everybody's playing cover one against them, man, challenging these guys. And the thing about the Bills that I'm realizing, we talked about how dominant they were over the first 3 games of the season, how they were the clear number 1 team in the league with what they were doing, how they were able to defend the run and nickel, how they were able to, just torch everybody. Allen was the MVP favorite. And looking back on it now, you're like, oh, maybe the Cardinals and the Dolphins and who was the other team they beat to go 3-0? I can't remember. It was a team that looked
Jaguars.
Was it the Jaguars, right? Yeah, that's right. So it's like going into the year, beating the Cardinals, Jaguars, and Dolphins may have looked good, but like as we're getting a bigger sample size, we're like, oh, maybe beating those 3 teams isn't that crazy, really. And that's kind of how I'm feeling about the Bills right now. I mentioned that they had -7 passing yards on first down. Almost every single first down look, it was single high from the Texans, and it was like Greg Williams single high. Like the free safety was not even on the screen, and he was a rookie. He got burned on a double move when they went too high on first down. I think it was the only time they did it. It was on the Mac Hollins failed to track ball where he ran a double move. That high safety, I can't remember his name, Bit. He got burned, but then Hollins tracking the ball was like running around with his arms out, like bending over backwards. It's like, this is not how you track. You're supposed to have late hands, not like stick them out, like looking for it as the ball is in the air. But the fact that they got all single high, there's a safety in the box, Petrie on every single early down, and they just couldn't get to they tried to get to the perimeter, but they weren't really successful. Weren't able to hit many big plays until that 4th down one where Keon turns the hitch upfield, breaks a tackle, scores. It was concerning, and they ran the ball a lot into those loaded boxes. I thought maybe they could have given Allen a little bit more time to get hot, but their run rate was like almost 80% on first down as well into those boxes, which I thought was a little questionable. And then I guess the other thing is like Allen was clearly unconscious for after a hit and came back in the game, and probably that should not have happened. That's bad. So just messy from the Bills all day. And then Stroud might be the MVP, honestly. Like, hits all kinds of crazy throws under constant pressure. Like, the line continues to kind of fail in front of him, I think, and deteriorate. And even in this game, like, Nico Collins was out. It was pretty easy to begin. He just ran by the entire defense, and they scored a 63-yard touchdown. But after that, it definitely got a lot harder, and Bernard made some plays, and the pass rushers made some plays. He just continued to do enough and break some tackles and step into pressure and throw down field, and just all kinds of good stuff from him over the course of the season. He's not sophomore slumping, guys. And he's looking he's looking better than he did last year.
Super sophomore Stroud ?
Apparently.
Yeah, I mean, he's just ridiculous. And Collins, I mean, it's a shame he went down in this game because he's on an unbelievable pace. He's as good as anybody in the NFL right now, the receiver. I mean, that's the level he's playing on, and I'm hoping he gets back quick.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You know who else is on an unbelievable pace?
Deshaun Watson on sacks.
Who?
Matt, what did you say his pace was?
88.
88.
Be the record by 12.
I can't believe that. I think that's just completely insane. He looks terrible. And I was talking about this at flag football with some of the guys. They were like, that's got to be like the worst locker room ever, right? He's a captain, and he's like so clearly holding this team back. And it's like, sorry guys, I played bad. It's like, dude, shut the hell up. Like, everyone, like, is that a nightmare locker room, do you think?
I mean, it's certainly not a good one. I mean, they're the worst offense in the league.
Yes, they are.
And they just won't do anything about it. And I don't understand why. They benched Bryce Young. He was the first overall pick, and they traded DJ Moore away for him. That's pretty much just as big of an investment as the one. I mean, maybe not just as big, but those are two huge investments that are failing, right? The Panthers had the guts to say enough, and their team is not good, but it got a little bit better there. And I think the Browns are a team with expectations, and they would benefit from doing the same thing at this point. I mean, you can't take 88 sacks in a year. There's nothing there for Watson. He's playing worse than Bryce Young was. So why haven't they made the move? They said maybe Stefanski can't make the move. Like maybe ownership says like keep him in because he's so high paid. I don't know about that. What do you think, Blaiden?
Dude, if Haslam is really being that much of a dick to be like, no, I don't want to lose out on my cash, so we're going to keep playing him. Like, you're going to lose out on your cash because people are going to stop coming to the games.
Right.
You want to build this new stadium, bro, they're not going to pay for it if the team sucks. Like,
right.
I don't... Everything would be better if the Browns were good, right? Like everything would be better for Jimmy Haslam if the Browns are just good at football. And it wouldn't shock me. I know he's made like his own personal calls before, but like you at some point you just have to trust the guys to do their job, I think. And if he can't do that much, then I don't know. But like it's the same thing with the Panthers, right? So
yeah.
It would shock me, but it not too shocking. I don't know.
If it came from ownership, I don't think it is. Like, what I thought PFF Moo made a good point on Twitter, where he's like, what would Stefanski have to even gain from listening to them? Like, he's going to bench Watson for Winston at this point, and they're going to fire him because of that? Like, no one would ever coach in Cleveland again. You know,
right.
Like I don't understand what Stefanski, the decision-making process here, unless he is the one feeling the weight of all the guaranteed money instead of the owners. But
it's out of Kevin Stefanski's pocket.
I don't know.
That would be insane. No, you just have to bench him. And, like, especially against Washington's defense. Like, this is not a team that should be getting 7 sacks against you. I get the offensive line's banged up. Like, I get there are other things going on. But, like, Washington's defense is horrible. You should not.
I mean, it's unacceptable. It's every game. It's Washington. It's Oakland. Or not Las Vegas. It's whatever team you want. He takes 7 sacks every single game. I've got a question for you about this one as well. Where was Myles Garrett?
Literally, or
well, I know he was probably aligned as right outside linebacker or right end or
yeah.
But like, why did Jaden Daniels torch you guys? I knew that the pass rush was notably bad the previous 2 weeks, but I mean, I didn't really watch much of this game, but you guys allowed 30 plus as well.
Yeah, it feels like the only 2 defensive players that kind of showed up, or not the only 2, the only defensive player that showed up the past 2 weeks has been JOK. Just the only guy that's like flying to the football consistently, the only guy that's, you know, making an effort to get downhill and you know, whether it's force guys back inside, set the edge, whether it's, you know, actually making tackles. He's the only one that's really doing that on a regular basis. Delpit sometimes, but like, yeah, the pass rush has not been spectacular. There were a couple of moments where I thought they did a good job crashing on the right side, but you know, they didn't wrap up, so Daniels was able to just kind of slip out. And then this was on the first deep shot to McLaurin. They went man coverage most of the day, and Denzel Ward has his eyes in the backfield in man coverage, and he's just like totally lost, and so Terry just like slips right behind him on, like in scramble drill, and it's like he just gave up on the play to her. I'm like, dude, like, it's just like, I don't know. It feels like no one on this team has any like desire right now, which like maybe that's a cop out answer, but it just doesn't feel like there's a lot of care. And that's why it's like Watson being a captain. I'm like, how does that impact the locker room? I think that's a legit question, because it doesn't look like there's any sort of like fire. There's no hustle outside of JOK. He's the only one I feel like that's doing anything right now on defense.
Maybe he doesn't know what Watson did.
He doesn't know.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I didn't watch this one.
I mean, I do want to go back and kind of see like what's going on with the defensive line, because you're right. Like they have not been as special as they should be getting pressure right now. So yeah, it's something definitely to watch for. I think JOK is playing great, but that's about it. The offense is a disaster. The defense needs to be a little bit better. I mean, they got gashed on the ground today, and it wasn't just Daniels. Eckler had a fantastic game. McNichols got 6 yards a carry. Like,
he also killed somebody on a kick return, which was sick.
Yeah.
He's just doing everything right now. Like McNichols, every carry that he's had this year has popped. He is killing it in pass protection, and then he's out there in the kickoff return, like murdering people. That was like, I think, the only play from this game that I saw. I took a break from watching the Packers and the Cardinals and I was like, I wonder what the Browns are up to, and it's like, oh, they're getting destroyed by Jeremy McNichols on the kick return, and then I went back to the other game.
Okay. So when I last checked this game before I finally decided to give up, the Browns were 0 for 12 on third down.
Ooh, that's a nice one.
Yeah, they ended up converting once. They did get one. They did go 1 for 13. It looks like towards the end. Yeah, but 0 for 12 through most of this game, and just and at the time I think they were also 0 for 1 on fourth. But it looks like they ended up going 2 for 3 on fourth as well. But like just terrible on third down and terrible against pressure. So it's just like the worst offense ever. But let's talk about another team that kind of choked things away late in the game. San Francisco, Arizona, if we want to get into the midday window a little bit. Dude, what happened to Brock Purdy? Theo, you called it.
They miss McCaffrey so bad. We talked about San Francisco in the last episode, and we put them in our tier 1 of NFC contenders. Yeah. And that got me thinking, like, I watched San Francisco, obviously. They beat New England pretty bad. They hit a bunch of post shots. Like, they were 2-2, but they were still the 49ers. And, like, I don't know. I thought, like, yeah, they can beat tier 1. They've been playing fine enough. And I think even after they lose this game, like, I see a lot of tweets. Like, I'm just not concerned about them, even though they're 2-3. Just they feel like they're still dominant. And I am starting to get just concerned about this offense without McCaffrey. And there are a couple of reasons why. First of all, they have been really bad in the red zone. And that obviously McCaffrey had 17, 18 straight games with a touchdown after they traded for him. This year, he was a great weapon down there. This year, the San Francisco 49ers are 30th with a 40.9% red zone touchdown rate. Okay, that's a problem.
Yeah, that's not good.
Another thing that's happened, their rate of cover 3 faced has been cut in half. So no one's rotating a safety down into the box to cover McCaffrey. They're keeping them both high. They're keeping eyes on all the crossers. They're predicting the 49ers' routes, and that's a problem. And then Purdy is going through reads, they're not running as much play action without McCaffrey as a running threat to draw attention. So there's more of an onus on Purdy to read down the field, like drop straight back against more safeties sitting on things. And he's not really one to check it down these days to Mason. He's not really a threat in the receiving game at all. So all these things are happening, and all of a sudden, I just think Purdy looks slow getting through his reads. I think the offense looks predictable all of a sudden. They need something to break those shells and give a little bit of a changeup to the inbreakers. Like, that's what McCaffrey provides. They need someone to put it in the red zone. None of that is happening right now to me. And they've gone from 28 points a game last year to like 22 this year. They've gone from first to outside the top 10 points per game on offense. They had a kick return for a touchdown today, or a pump kick block return. They had a pick six from Warner. Like, I think they've had a couple of them. Like, this offense is not half as good as it was last year in terms of EPA. There's a huge impact on the scoreboard so far. I mean, if McCaffrey comes back, maybe it all goes away, but I am concerned about the San Francisco 49ers.
I noticed a play. You talk about predictability. They went Debo in the backfield, right? And it was single back with Debo in the backfield. And I'm like, oh, normally if they do this, it's McCaffrey out there, lined up as receiver. And so now all of a sudden you have the potential of, a different change of pace in the backfield and a mismatch with like McCaffrey on a linebacker or something. Now you don't have that. And it's like, you don't really get the same advantage anymore. I feel like when you give those looks, because now you now a defense can kind of just do what they would normally do against like an oddball, like almost like an empty formation at that point to them. That's almost what it's just like a normal empty set at that. It feels like, so it just doesn't give the same like set of juice or change of pace that it normally would with McCaffrey. I do think it's worth concern. I still think Purdy, like despite the interception at the end, like I still have to lean on the fact that I think Purdy's been playing his best ball.
He hasn't. He is not, man. He is just not. He's not playing better football than the back half of last year.
Well, I would I don't know, man.
What was his time to throw today? 3.7 seconds average time to throw today. It's horribly bad this whole season. His time to throw this year. Hold on, let me find it real quick. 3.7 seconds is just an unfathomable amount of time. It was an unfathomable amount of time last week. He is holding the ball for 3.42 yards seconds per drop back. Next highest team, the Eagles, 3.19. After that, the Ravens, 3.14. 3.42, dude. He needs to be getting the ball out way faster. On the pick, he had Kittle on hot, like wide open. He found him late. He is slow getting through his reads right now, really slow. And he is running around unnecessarily. His sack rate has skyrocketed. Like, I've said it last week, and everybody's like, he's extending plays more than he ever has. Like, yeah, against the Patriots front four, he's holding it for 10 seconds and, like, rolling out backwards and, like, throwing it away. He's extended more plays because he's rolling out more. His efficiency on those plays have not gone up. He is playing closer to his worst football right now, I would argue.
Yeah, and I think the difference between like maybe a Ravens or even maybe a Jalen Hurts with holding the ball is that a lot of the times, like, you'll see Lamar create something out of nothing because they have receivers who struggle to win, and they haven't built out an offense that has a ton of weapons. With Hurts, part of it has been the injuries, and then also part of it has been Hurts is like not playing very good at times. With Purdy, it's like, I know there's no McCaffrey there, and that's somebody who you would often get it out too quick. But with Ayuk and Jennings has been playing well, and Kittle there, you'd expect him to be able to sit in and be able to get rid of the ball quickly, even if there was no McCaffrey. But he hasn't been able to. And he's just also not as talented of a creator as definitely Lamar, and I would argue Hurts, who can, be a wrecking ball and run right at you in a way that Purdy can run, but not in the same way, of course.
I would argue that Ayuk hasn't, this has probably been Ayuk's one really good. I mean, definitely his best game, but he just hasn't had a really good game so far this year. He's been under 50 yards, in all of the first 4 games. So I can understand to an extent that he might feel like he needs to extend those plays, but you are right on the pick. He did have an option to get it there, and he.
Yeah, and it's not all on Purdy. I'm being very harsh on him on Twitter because I'm really trying to drive this point of there is a problem, Matt. He is holding the ball 0.3 of a second longer than everybody else. And people are, I feel not pretending it's not happening. It's not just a problem with Purdy, and I feel when I say he's playing some of the worst football of his career, it's not that much of a dig because he has been playing pretty good over the course of his career, and he's been playing pretty good at the back half of last season, and maybe when he was first named the starter, he's not playing worse than then. And it's also a problem with Shanahan's offense. I feel like it's just so dependent on crossers and in-breakers that when McCaffrey is not out there, Purdy said it himself. He felt like the Patriots were anticipating all of our routes, is what he said in the post-game press conference. He's they were leveraging the crossers, and they were they would sit in trail and just run the crossers at their safeties who were waiting for them. Right. So it's been tough to generate offense if you're them because the playbook is a bit predictable right now. And I think Purdy is struggling to adjust to the new environment.
So is this a Kyle Shanahan problem, perchance?
It's not a Kyle Shanahan problem. It's just I don't know, maybe it is, but it's tough to change your offense on a dime. And who knows if Purdy is good at other stuff, Purdy is someone who stands in there and he rips the crossers. And there were a couple times in this game where he did a really good job at that. And he made some really good plays when Ayuk was winning on his routes. But how different can the offense be with Purdy under center? I think those are some of the questions that you got to ask sometimes, because McCaffrey isn't always going to be around, and they're going to have to make a decision on whether to pay Purdy or not. And I think the way he's paying right now, I don't think he's playing like a $60 million quarterback.
Maybe not 60.
55, whatever. I mean, he's in line to be the highest paid.
Yeah, he would be the next guy. I don't know.
I agree.
What are your thoughts, Matt?
Or yeah, we'll edit that out. Let's move on to the Packer game.
You don't want to talk? I mean, the Cardinals won this game, man. we can give some praise to them.
Yeah, they did.
They did. I mean, James Conner had a pretty solid game. They gave him the rock a lot, 86 yards on the ground. Kyler ran it for 83, including one he ripped off for 50. The Marvin Harrison connection still seems to be a little bit cumbersome to get going. But it does feel like teams are playing him really tight.
I think sometimes he's just the guy who's doubled, you know. That was kind of my thought in the last game was Kyler was looking at him too much. Like Michael Wilson was open, and then he'd go look at Marv, and he'd be doing the right thing, and it would just be doubled, and I'd be like, well, you shouldn't have looked at him. So I don't know. I think the Cardinals have done. Petsing does some good things. Obviously, James Conner is a beast when you get that with Kyler Murray moving the ball on the ground as well. That was missing from their game plan last week. It was good to see Kyler bounce back after what I thought was one of his worst games last year. Petsing is letting him be a field general. He's letting him, make a ton of calls at the line of scrimmage. A couple of those are still awkward, and I don't think he has maybe the fullest of command of that right now based on the past 2 weeks, but in this game, there were a lot more good moments with that than against the Commanders. So that was nice to see. And it was nice to see Kyler get those 80 yards on that ground and break up the 50-yard rush. He had the fastest time for a quarterback in 8 years is what the broadcast said.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I saw his overall running numbers have been as top tier as they possibly can be in terms of speed and number of times that he's running, which is nice to see because that's such a big part of his game, and he's dealt with so many injuries. Even for a young guy, you can start to see that slip if you get banged up too much. So it's good to see that hasn't happened. And I have to say that throw that sealed the game for him, the Marv, was ridiculous. He's down there somewhere.
He is down there somewhere. Yeah. I turned this one off for a little bit because it looked like the 49ers kind of were running away with it a little bit. There were some huge mistakes. The blocked kick, the pick that Kyler threw to Nick Bosa. Is like, I don't know if they're working their way out of this. So I'll have to check out the tape to see exactly what went wrong or what went right for the Cardinals offense. And a lot of my takes on Purdy are from what I saw in the previous few games. And this one, I'm just kind of making the judgment off of the time to throw numbers that I'm seeing and what I saw the past few weeks, because I didn't catch all of this one. I did catch most of the Packer game.
Hey.
And I know, Matt, you did as well.
Packers won. Congratulations.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm trying to find my earbuds. My headphones are about to die.
That's all right. I can hold it down here for a second. I was a little bit disappointed, even though we won at the showing. It's just the pass rush I've talked about. It still wasn't great. The secondary did a hell of a job on the back end. They mixed Evan Williams into the rotation more, kicking Keyshawn out to the Nixon out to the outside, putting Evan Williams in, and then you've got Bullard and McKinney, who's having a fantastic season. Obviously, the fact that kind of 3 safety setup was working for them, and Williams did such a good job on the tight ends the whole game, was my favorite part of it. But outside of the secondary, I am starting. I don't know. There's just a lot that's been underwhelming. Jordan Love, he's been fine. He's made big plays. He's been explosive. They put 29 points up on Flores. They scored a lot against the Eagles, blah, blah, blah. The turnovers are silly. They're stupid. And Dontavion Wicks has bricks for hands. And Romeo Doubs is getting suspended for missing practices because he wants more playing time. That story doesn't make any sense to me. So, outside of Jaden Reed and Tucker Kraft, I'm glad that they look as good as they do, but I wanted more standout players in this receiving core. I wanted more standout players on the defensive line. I wanted Jordan Love to not make this many silly decisions. There are a couple of things that have got me concerned right now, and they barely squeaked out a win against a pretty injured Rams team. Matt, I don't know what your takeaways were.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, it just feels like, again, they've sort of gotten away from the idea that they can be a run-first team that sort of mixes everything else in. It's almost like their identity has completely changed, right? Last year, you're trying to ease Love in a little bit, right? He's a young guy. At the beginning of the season, he's kind of struggling. And you lean on the run game. And you saw that with Willis, right? You really leaned on the run game because you can do that well, and it's well designed. But now, all of a sudden, Jordan Love is the highest paid quarterback, or one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL. And you have all of these weapons. So you need to throw it a million times. And when Love is inconsistent with his accuracy and is constantly not taking what's easy and wants to hit the big shots, which I understand in an offense that's talented, but when that's all the time, you haven't built the base. It's the same thing as we've been talking about before, and it turns into really, really frustrating football because I still think they are super talented on offense. Defense is another thing. I think they are super talented on offense, but the consistency for them it is just not there, and it's just not there for Love. Now, they do strike me as a team that could hit their groove at some point and all of a sudden become, totally different. Mm-hmm. In fact, I have great faith that, Dak Prescott is trying to run in the end zone, and I need him to in fantasy. That's my fault. No, he got that at the one. I've known this whole drive that Dak isn't scoring the touchdown. Is he 0.1 yards short, and they have 2 timeouts? Yep, it's cool. He's not going to get this touchdown because McCarthy is evil, bro. It is ridiculous, dude.
He's going to give it to Zeke.
What the hell is with the run? It's going to go to Ezekiel Elliott, dude. It's going to go to Rico Dottie. Who?
You think they should sneak it?
They're not going to, man.
They still could. Dak fumbled there. And it luckily bounced out at the 1-inch line instead of out
They
of
should
bounds
make
for a
they should make
touchback.
they should make the field's 99 yards. Fuck. Anyway, Tucker.
Go ahead. Yeah, talk
Tucker
about
Kraft is a
Kraft.
fucking beast, bro. There's just something where it's like, if you watch the Packers enough and you see Musgrave coming around as the lead blocker, and then you see Kraft coming around as the lead blocker, it's like, how do you feel on those two plays? It's like such a difference. It's like Kraft just feels like such a wall because he plays like such a wall, and then on top of that, he's got great hands. I mean, you were comparing him to Kittle, not to expose your group chat,
Off
Jake,
the
but
cuff.
I really like it. I really do like the comparison. Not to say that it's 1-to-1, of course, or that he's hit that level yet, but he's been dominant. And with the ball in his hands, I mean, there was a touchdown. I think the last touchdown that the Packers scored, Kraft gets it maybe 8 yards from the end zone, and he's not really in any position to score. There's just too much traffic. There's too much noise in front of him. And yet he's still just so strong and so physical. He's able to power his way to the end zone. Like, he's really, really, really good. And Musgrave was drafted higher, right?
Yeah, he was.
And it's just gotten to the point, they figured this out probably 12, 13 games into last year because I was looking at the snap count numbers. They got the stupid-ass fullback and Doddle out there. Fuck.
The fullback could score here. He's number 40. I can't remember his name.
He's good. He's a good play. I don't mean to call him. I don't mean to call him stupid ass, bro.
I think they should.
You might want to put the ball in his hands. That might be
Like
what I
false
dial.
start this shit.
You're
Guyton?
trying to get him. You're trying to get loud from Cincinnati.
That's what I'm
in Pittsburgh.
That's what
I
I'm
guess you're
saying,
not that
dude.
far away. Make some noise.
Oh yeah, dude. There's not one wide receiver on the field. Oh
Dak.
my god!
Dak bootleg, bro.
No. This is insane, dude. This is insane.
Oh! Third. Oh, you're too far. You got to throw. You've got to throw that. You don't have any choice.
Dude,
And they
this
have,
is like your perfect scenario, Matt. Oh my god.
that's a fucking miracle, bro. Dak, where is
Now it
Dak
gets
running off to?
popped. The ball bounces
it's a timeout.
4 yards backwards. What are the odds?
That
dude?
literally is. I mean, that's perfect. Here's the thing. I don't necessarily win, but it's like this is the difference between me having like no shot versus like it's a true toss up if I win.
Now we're just officially broadcasting.
Elandon Roberts. Fuck your fantasy team. Elandon Roberts is the GOAT, man. That's all I got to say about that.
Dude,
He
he
is
poked that out
so.
with his helmet. That's crazy.
He leapt over the entire. This is some Palomalu-esque. Play from
It's
him.
just shit like. Dude, Tomlin is just such a good coach, man. The Steelers' identity is
thing
just
is-
so clear, and it never changes, and they always have guys who are like this, man. Like, it's just how they are, dude.
I swear to God, he's like not even that. Like Pittsburgh fans have got to be so crazy because Tomlin is such a good coach, but at the same time, like there are many like obvious personnel decisions that oh no,
It was
Dak,
low.
buddy,
Yeah.
he's.
Mine was so grainy I couldn't tell whose fault it was for a second, so now
Dak
it's back to
just
HD.
Skipped that into the ground, and Tolbert looked a little bit open there. But
I think it's funny that one of the main
Tomlin
reasons
makes all
they
these
hired
mistakes that they're still
Arthur
good.
Smith is because like Arthur Smith was in love with the Steelers' identity of like they want to be in these heavy personnels on offense and
it's not that good of an identity is the thing. It's like they run. They're not that good at running. They've got like Schlampkin out there pounding the rock 1,000,000 times a game. They got like Pickens playing his career low in snaps this season.
Well, their identity on offense sucks because they don't have a quarterback.
oh my god.
That's-
I just watched the end zone angle of this fumble. You're right. That was a Palomalu-esque lead.
Landon is the sickest
That's how-
linebacker in the league, dude.
That's how I go for
so
every
goated.
tackle in Madden.
And that's the most ethical way to play Madden, I've heard.
If you do that in college football and you're playing as like a dog shit team, you legitimately will never make a tackle ever. You just it won't ever. Like I have linebackers with like 75
All
tackle
right,
and 99
fourth and goal.
speed. Don't spoil it for me, Blaiden. You're ahead.
Oh, am I? Well, the Steelers.
Anyway, back to let's. I'm upset that we were talking about how Tucker Kraft is the GOAT, and now we're not.
We interrupted that.
But yeah, I don't know. I just think with the Packers, there are some nice things. Like Kraft is sick. I'm hoping that they can kind of come up with a happy marriage of some of the good things we saw from the Willis era, and some of the things that we're seeing from like the Love 400-yard performances with 3 picks and 3 interceptions. Like there is some sort of happy medium I think they can reach. Obviously we saw Love get really hot in the back half of last year. I don't deny that it can happen, but it's just like right now there are just a few too many questionable units, and I'm worried that yes, they could get better, but at the same time, like what if the turnover luck regresses, which is something that can come and go with relative ease, and they're the first in the league by far. McKinney has
Oh man, come on.
I was waiting for your reaction.
I'm trying to hold this over. What happened? Oh, good.
Jalen Tolbert's the GOAT now?
There we go.
Shout out to him. All right, I got a fighting chance. Good shit, Tolbert. I love Dak. I love Dak so much, man.
I do love Dak, but I need the AFC team to probably win ideally.
Sorry, buddy.
Whatever.
I haven't thought about that type of shit in so long. It's unbelievable.
All right, so we're thinking of. So what are we thinking the Steelers do when they come back on and off? It's just like George Pickens.
Pickens, yeah. It's 20 seconds. They got no timeouts, so it'll be 2 shots to Pickens, and we'll see what they can do with it. But
you know, here's something. Sorry, this field goal. Here's a take for you. The Steelers and the Cowboys are 2 teams that feel like they're going to win about like 10 games this year, but they're like on 2 opposite ends of the spectrum. Like the Steelers are like the consistency, like the Rock, like they're playing up to 10 wins. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like in spite of it all, like every fiber in your being wants you to pick them to be like a 6-win team, but they're the Steelers, so they won't. The Cowboys are like, I'm not saying, I guess now it looks pretty bad, but like for the last like 5 years, you want to pick them to win 14 games and make the Super Bowl, but they're the Cowboys, so they're going to win 10.
They've won 12 every year for the past 4. I just think that 12 this year, or 11. That this, I
honestly don't care.
This year is not.
Vibes say they've won 10 the last 4 years.
Well, the last 4 years, it's been they should go undefeated, be the team of destiny, and win it all, and they've won 12.
We got to count wins more like the Aura tracker on social media, where it's like plus 5,000 and then minus in the playoffs. So they're.
But you know what you see what I'm saying. You
from
see
an Aura perspective, they do get docked. At
the
Steelers
have jumped twice on this PAT.
They're trying. They're endlessly going to do this because they're trying to block it and house it for 2 points, and there's literally 0 risk. Like the Cowboys are never going to go for this ever.
And it's almost like you're kind of icing the kicker too, like psyching him out a little bit. Maybe he'll hesitate.
A miss doesn't like they don't think that they have any hope. They have no hope of like driving down the field and stopping the clock and hitting a field goal. It can't happen in their eyes. Fair enough. With no timeouts, 20 seconds, that's pretty tough. So they're like, what if we're just going to keep jumping at it and eventually we'll be right. We could block it, house it, tie game.
Minka is the one jumping off, and I think whatever he does is probably the right thing to do. If he wants to be crazy aggressive because he knows it's over.
They didn't do it that time.
He can be.
So it's 20-17.
What happens if you keep like? I'm sure there's a rule for it. Like you can't just like extend the game endlessly.
Would it be delay of game?
I don't know. You pick one drive. You're like a West Coast team. East Coast team is coming to play you. You get like you keep getting like you burn a drive by endlessly
doing it forever. I
endlessly get false starts for like 4 hours. All of a sudden, it feels like it's 5 o'clock. It's 5 o'clock their time because we're the West Coast team. They're like dead tired. They haven't been doing anything for 3 hours. Their clock can't adjust. Like the internal clock can't adjust that quickly. So it's like maybe it's like 2 a.m. for me, but here's the thing. I had all my boys ready. We all slept in until 3 p.m. You were probably up and at 'em early. Come on, man. That's an easy dub.
Here's the thing. We can't test this out at all because if you tried this in Madden, you get kicked from the game. I guess you could maybe do it in offline mode, But if you
they're
would just
also
let you do
computer
it.
players.
They would let you do it forever. It's just that no self-respecting individual would act that desperate to try to block a field goal more than like twice. Like you can do it for as long as you want, and I don't think anybody can do anything about it. But it's like at some point, I think you just got to like take your L if you're a serious sports.
Light
franchise.
goes into the sky with Sirianni's outline in the middle. I would be going for I would have been going for like the lateral play there. I would have been going for the wacky kickoff.
They got 15 seconds.
Nah,
if you're gonna do it, do it. Now you got 15 seconds. Now you got no hope. I mean, I guess what you need like a 30 yard. You can like 30 yard is when you can at least try it, right? Like if you're at the 50, a 67 yarder, like you can try that at least, right?
I will say that Pickens is the best possible guy to have in this situation. I feel.
Yeah, the thing is that he's got to get out of bounds. I guess I wouldn't have done the nonsense kickoff stuff. I lied.
Yeah, I mean it's a field goal that you need. You just
Fields,
need a shot, save, clock,
That
the
was
deep
almost
corner.
That was almost really bad.
Wow.
I mean,
it was bad.
it was pretty bad anyway. 7 seconds are on the clock.
What if you would
Looked like
run Fields to the sideline?
Speaking of, Overshown is the most random player to like break out. I feel like if you would have given me a list of every NFL player in the league that could possibly have like a breakout season, Overshown would rank like 847th on that list. Like,
oh god,
shout out to him. But I just, I feel like there's no hive for Overshown. Like coming out of the draft, there's no Overshown hive at any point. Like just. Nickel safety hybrid type, just not really the type of guy that.
Oh, come on, Pickens.
What do you want him to do?
Come on,
you haven't seen what you
watching these laterals. Are you serious right now? Is this what is 1 second? It's over, dude.
Did you see what he just did?
He lateraled it. Oh, yeah, I did see what he did. I thought you were talking about a lateral. This is why we can't watch it.
No, man.
Yeah, that was kind of dirty at the end.
What did he do? I didn't see it.
He just grabbed the guy by his face mask and dragged him down for no reason.
Tough.
I guess you might as well if you can.
You might as well. All right, let's see how many.
You might as well act immature and. No.
Okay, I'm up. I'm up.
Suspend him?
4 points on Carson Breber, mind you.
Okay.
Oh. He has Juju Smith-Schuster left to play.
Yeah.
And I have Mason Tipton.
I don't even know what position Mason Tipton plays.
He's breakout rookie wide receiver for the New Orleans Saints, who has caught a pass in the last 2 plays. Buys and injuries are kicking my ass this week. So
wait, who does he have? Hold on,
Juju.
4 point. Juju's probably not getting. I guess where she is.
But with the injuries, this is what I'm saying. And like Mason Tipton has caught a pass the last 2 games. We're cool.
I'm writing off Mason Tipton, I think.
Clip it. You're done, buddy. No, so it's a guy who like potentially could put up like 2 points, right? So and then Juju is projected 5. Like it could not be closer going into this Monday night. And it's the type of fantasy watch that only the 32 team league can create. You're just not watching Juju versus Mason Tipton in any other league, man.
It can't be denied. It can't be denied. What is this route tree?
I'm happy to report that I will now be the undefeated 5-0 number 1 seed in the 32 team AAA.
Let's go. LFG.
Excited
You're winning it all.
to return to the ranks of the elites next season, and I'll take it seriously this time. I promise.
I'm excited about it, man.
Dude, Bub Means is breaking your heart.
Stop. Bub Means just like not play, bro.
Bub Means.
Actually, I don't really know. Wait, but no.
Neither does Mason Tipton.
Then how has he had 5 total points in the last 2 games?
Hey.
I don't know. I don't know.
Mason, I'll have you know, Mason Tipton hit 39% offensive snap count last week.
Fair enough. All right, I'll give it.
He's making the field. You know who I'm fucking. Because anybody who gets targets is honestly like a semi-useful player, except for apparently MVS, who gets throws every week, and I swear to God has maybe come down with like 2 all season. He might be coming down with like 5% of his targets. It's ridiculous, man. But he gets out there. He's selling me, bro.
Well, let me tell you something about Marquez Valdez-Scantling and what he does on a week-to-week basis. I mean, maybe it's especially bad right now, but I saw him, by the way, on Derek Stingley in a clutch moment today. Derek Stingley got a PBU. He got another PBU on third down later. That gives him 4 third down PBUs in the last 2 weeks in the fourth quarter.
Hey.
How about that stat? And maybe he has more. I've just witnessed personally 4 that I can remember off the top of my head on third down alone in the fourth quarter alone. Look at it.
Yeah.
I got the notes. Come on.
Okay, man.
He's a mad scientist. Here's a number for you. 28 yards per reception for Alec Pierce this year so far.
There we go.
Oh my God. What's
Goat.
the yards per target?
I don't know.
One last thing I want to say, shout out Riley Moss, the white cornerback for the Denver Broncos. He's sick.
Yeah.
Surtain is
The GOAT.
been playing at a very high level this year as well. Getting in that 3-4 that they do with Zach Allen and Jones and Franklin Myers with Benito and Cooper speed rushing off the edge. It's not a bad front, and then you get Barton and Stranad or whatever his name is playing really aggressively downhill to kind of peel off these double teams that are already stressed because there's so many people on the line of scrimmage. They're disguising their looks while remaining disciplined on the back end. They're stopping the run all the time. Like, this defense is pretty damn good right now, led by Surtain and just kind of shredding people with that front. Bo Nix, I thought I watched with my friend who is a Broncos fan the second half of this game, and he had a bet with he's from LA, and he had a bet with all of his family back home, and he told me that they bet $50 on every Broncos Raiders game, and he's lost 8 straight $50 bets, and that was how long the streak had been. So shout out the Broncos for beating the Raiders finally, getting Kevin his $50 finally, and shout out Bo Nix for at least after when I turned the game. I don't know what happened in the first half, but when I turned on the game in the second half, he was playing pretty good ball, and Troy Franklin dropped a beautiful deep touchdown from him, and it was good offense from the Broncos and defense from what I saw.
They can get it going at time. I feel like when a couple of games ago when he was going up against the Buccaneers, when he was being like really quick and like knowing kind of what he was going to do, he could get it out and make some plays. Like, he had some good timing on some outside stuff.
The outside stuff has been nice at times. In the middle of the field again today, like really nothing intermediate or D or really anywhere in the middle. It's all to the sidelines, all of his big plays. Eventually, I'd like to see him, venture back into the triple coverage range, but if he's just going to pick on the one-on-ones to the outside, and he was really accurate on those plays in this game, like, it's more power to him, because the defense is keeping him ahead, keeping him in games, and you just need a couple big ones. And just pretty nice execution from them all the way around today. 33 unanswered, so obviously you got to do a good job to do that. And Surtain's a beast.
He is.
Woohoo!
And Minshew got benched, unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
For Aiden O'Connell, who then put a damn 94 yards on 20 attempts.
They have. Do they? Okay, we'll ask it, not declare it. Do they have the most uninspiring, unserious quarterback room in the NFL?
I think the Bears still do. Mm-hmm. Maybe the Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say probably 4. I'd put the Raiders at for me, behind Tampa, the Saints, and Atlanta.
No, don't think you're getting off that easy, Blaiden. They're definitely they have the second most dysfunctional situation in the league.
Ooh, he got you.
I think you're discounting.
He got you.
When they eventually put in Jameis.
Yeah, maybe.
They're not even putting in Jameis, bro.
Than Minshew and AOC. Or don't forget about our Lord and Savior, the future of Cleveland, Dorian Thompson-Robinson.
Honestly, at this point, he might be your best bet.
There's a reason they kept him around, man. They could have got rid of him.
Is there also a reason they're starting Watson?
No, there's no reason. I mean, embarrassing. Right. But let's send the good people off. Thank you all so much for tuning in to another episode of Stay Hot. It's been an absolute blast, and we're excited to keep trucking along the NFL season. Some of our teams are doing better than others, but hopefully your team, you who's listening to this, I hope your team is having a fantastic season. And until next time, thank you all so much for tuning in, and we will catch you on the flippity flop.